Tour top 8 ever. Discuss.
I need to look at some Chicago's, but this is very, very close. Coincidentally, John Finkel's also in those Chicago's.
Fair. It has been a monumental day here at Pro Tour Shadows over Innistrad. Honestly, we are pretty much literally still shaking from the drama of the last round and the top 8 announcement that many of you have just watched.
I have never seen an SRO crowd like that around the top 8 announcement. There's always a pretty good crowd, but I mean, it was 20, 25 people deep. It was incredible. I mean, and you know, front row seat, watch John Finkel, you know, stroll on the stage for the 16th time in his career. You know, it was a pretty big draw for a lot of players.
Yep, just the 35 Pro Tour top 8s between this 8. It's absolutely unreal. Let's get to the scoreboard and work our way down the array of talent that is coming to your screens, your phones, your iPads, your laptops, your 50-inch plasmas. If I was at home right now, I'd be going out and buying myself a new 50-inch plasma for tomorrow because this is going to be amazing stuff. Let's take a look, and we do begin, as you say, Brian David-Marshall, with the #1 seed. He was pace setting all weekend long, John Finkel.
Yeah, John Finkel was playing Seth Manfield. Steve Rubin in the last round of the tournament, but you know, could have just kept crushing. They were going to go to a game 3, agreed to the draw. 14-1-1. He dropped one match all weekend. Just, you know, he's very diplomatic about how good he is, and you know, I ran well, and I had a greatest player to ever play the game.
So that's your #1 seed. #2, the 2 beside his name, that means he is ranked #2 in the world right now. He's your reigning world champion, and he's about to make Player of the Year. Very, very interesting. Seth Manfield.
Seth Manfield, yeah, reigning world champion. By the way, world champion, Player of the Year. You know, this list is stacked. This top 8 is stacked with titles. This might actually just be better than Chicago. This might actually just be better than Chicago. This is kind of crazy.
So that's Seth Manfield at #2. #3, Brad Nelson.
Brad Nelson. So I went to the Team Eureka house to talk to them about their preparation process, get a little insight into what their limited thinking was, and to find out a lot about what the additions of Frank Karsten and Brad Nelson brought to the team. And Brad, you know, it's not his deck that they're playing, it's actually Pierre Dajon's, but, you know, Brad brought this, like, you know, structure and rigidity about how to play test for standard, what the Star City Invitational and open events meant in terms of their sideboards, and he felt by being part of this team, he was better prepared for Limited than for any Pro Tour he had ever played in his career.
So that's Brad Nelson at 3. At 4, it's Luis Scott Vargas. He was one of the 2 8-0 leaders overnight with Brad Nelson. And we said, halfway to history again, 16-0. Said, never mind the 16-0. Let's get in that top 8. At 12-1, things look great. 12-2, 12-3. Kept everyone sweating, but here he is, the #4 seed, LSV, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Hall of Famer who is playing in his 2nd straight top 8. He had a little bit of a lull there for a couple seasons, and much like Paulo at the end of last year, has just been resurgent.
Yeah, a phenomenal performance by him successfully through. And now here is the 3rd Pro Tour top 8 on 12-3-1. And we set this up last night on this very spot when we said, Shota Yasuoka, he drew with Jeremy Desani in the last round to go 6-1-1. And all day today, he's been threatening to play with the tiebreak math, force people to play in the last round. He did it, and he made it in 12-3-1.
Do you remember when there was some debate about the number of top 8s Shota had, about whether or not he should be a worthy Hall of Famer? You know, but you know, you talk to the top pros, they were like, "I've played against this guy. He's a worthy Hall of Famer." You know, he's not going to stop playing. He's going to keep adding to that resume. Just a tremendous finish for him here, and of course, Steve Rubin.
Yeah. Now, Steve Rubin is a player who describes himself, not my words, his, as the platinum pro that you don't know. Right? He can go in a crowd and he's super unassuming. He's very happy not to be in the limelight. But he was the relief when John Finkel said, how about we call a halt? It's 1 game all in the last round. All right, my friend, let's not play any more Magic. I'll see you again tomorrow.
Yeah, very briefly makes an appearance on the leaderboard of best players without a Pro Tour top 8. Just kind of gets there last year with an incredible run at Platinum, no top 8s. Quickly takes himself off that board and out of that discussion.
Right, so Steve Rubin is your number 6, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Americans, 1 from Japan. But now we shift continents. Argentina rejoice. Luis Salvato, your Super Sunday Series, got that out. Champion from last year, came back again this year, was in that event. But Super Sunday Series, those are the people who don't make it to day 2 of a Grand Prix. This is for people who make day 3 of a Pro Tour. Luis Salvato, fabulous.
And we've seen a lot of Brazil in the top 8 at Pro Tours, but we have not seen an Argentinian player in the top 8 for a little while here.
Right.
So it's got to be a lot of joy in Argentina tonight.
Yeah, fantastic stuff by him. And then we were able to see live out on the floor as it happened, in amongst the crush of judges and timekeepers and spotters and reporters and skycams. You were there for the moment when Andrea Mengucci and Katsuhiro Mori stared across the table at each other, teammates, friends.
75 card mirror, the Bant Company deck, the boogeyman of the format. Mori is the guy that whole team credits with really boot camping them on the deck and how to play it perfectly. And it was just such a dramatic moment. Mengucci's like, I'm gonna win this game. You have no more reflector mages. What are and Mori's such a competitive person, just does not want to lose. He's willing to accept the draw, but Mengucci gave him the puppiest dog of eyes.
Yeah. So at that point, 12-4, Gregor Kowalski, fabulous job by him. These are not in official scorecard order in terms of tie breaks. That's worth saying. We're going to crunch the maths. There may be a few little switches, but 1 to 8, that's locked in for sure. Blahon in 12th there. See Joe Larson, we knew he was going to get to 12-4, but wasn't going to make it in.
I believe that locks him for Platinum.
That sounds about right. Yeah. So Mike Rohn is in the top 16. Oliver, too, just a quick word for him.
This is something we talked about at the opening of the show. We talked about some players to watch. He had a top 16 at the last Pro Tour. It was only his 2nd Pro Tour. He's just played in the 3 Pro Tours this season. Okay, day 2 finish for the first one. Top 16 for the second one. Top 16 for this one. Has certainly catapulted himself into the lead in the Rookie of the Year race. I have to look at how some of the other players who were competing fared this weekend, but what a tremendous performance by him. Someone to keep your eye on next year on the Pro Tour, because this kid is for real. For sure. And then as you see the rest of the 12-4s, Rohn, Chiu, then the draws, Strasky, Marcio Carvalho there, another good finish for him from Portugal. And then you start the 11 and 5s. Remember, everyone on 11 and 5, if we can just go past this top 20, everyone on 11 and 5 gets to come back again next time. So why don't we take a look one stage deeper into our standings if we can. Let's take a moment for Chai Yen Song, though.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because at 11 and 5, he qualified for the Pro Tour. And he kind of stumbled down the end of the tournament with a couple of losses. Said, I came into the tournament hoping for 11 and 5. But your goals shift over the course of a Pro Tour. So while he is excited to have met his goals and to be playing in Sydney and with his friends, he was a little disappointed to not get there. So everyone here you see, many of them already top pros and locked in, but the likes of Rob Pisano, Brett Sinclair, Vieren Horvat will be back. He's a Grand Prix champion. Great job. Hitoshi Tomomura, Eric English is successfully coming back again. And again, Lai Pak Yin, you see there, Ray Chung, Kamalutzi will be back. Patrick Dickman is back on the train. He is a gold pro once again, and we will have another year of seeing one of the great constructive players in action. So congratulations to all the 11 and 5s, but that's for another day. Tomorrow, one of the great days in Magic history will unfold. It couldn't not be, because the top 8 is just extraordinary. Just take a look here, Brian David-Marshall. There's Mengucci going by. There you see Salvato, Steve Rubin, Yasuoka. There's LSV. There's Brad Nelson, Seth Manfield, your number 1, John Finkel. Just an utterly extraordinary lineup. And they will all be here to do battle in the best 3 out of 5 tomorrow. Do not miss a minute. You will hate yourself if you do.
until we see you tomorrow for the top 8 of Pro Tour Shadows over Innistrad, for all the technical team behind the scenes, for all the talent in front and all the talent at the tables.
Special shout out to Malloy and Lipke here for their yeoman work on the floor tag teaming that camera.
For sure. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Bigger, better, faster, stronger. See you tomorrow for the top 8 of Pro Tour Shadows over Innistrad.